Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Okay, so I first wanted to jump in and say welcome to Empowered Women, Empowering Women IGTV series, where I talk to empowered women who are making it their mission to empower other women to enhance their lives in health, wealth, wellness, and spiritual well-being. My name is Sabrina Maurice. I am a trauma recovery coach, and I am empowering mompreneurs to build trust, fall in love with themselves, to boost their confidence, and be free from their past traumas. I'm super excited today to introduce you to Miss Lili and Jen from New Zealand, two best friends on a mission to empower moms in streamlining their finances, improving their cash flow, and growing their wealth. Their combined net worth is 1.5 million. Holy freaking wow. $120,000 in investments, 7 properties, 7 children, and 2 supportive husbands. So welcome, ladies.
Hey, so cool to be here. Thank you for having us.
You are so welcome. And yes, thank you for being a part of this. I did start this back in March. I loved it. And then Spirit was like, and people are wanting this again. So I'm so happy to have a venue to be able to support other women and empower you guys essentially in getting your voice out there and your mission out there, right? Because if we don't have exposure, how are people going to connect to us? So I'm going to kick this off with our first question. And this is kind of for both of you. How did you amass the wealth that you have? And what past decisions do you feel made your current reality possible?
All right. You first or me? Oh, you go. Definitely for us, we've built up our wealth in property, being our number one, and Jen will be the same. But my husband and I decided early on we were definitely going to want to look at property for growing what we have basically over the long term. At the time, I was 22 when I bought my first investment property, and I actually did that with my mum before my husband and I were married. And it totally just gave me the property bug. And I thought, right, wow, look what you can make in no time at all. This is amazing. And it doesn't always go this way, of course. It's not this great peaches and cream amazing thing that you can do. It depends on the property market and lots of factors, but there's definitely plenty of money to be made in property. And when my husband and I got into it, we actually bought at the very peak of a property cycle, and then when we went to sell, we were right down in a big hole. So our first experience wasn't great, but we kept with it because we believed that it was a really good investment vehicle. And not only that, it was actually the only one we knew about at the time. Forward now that we know about index funds and retirement schemes, it's a whole new world of investments everywhere. But at the time, it's all we knew, and we're just so pleased that we made the decision early to do it.
Yeah, I love it.
We're based in New Zealand, and I think that's really the main investment, or maybe up until more recent years, that people have wanted to get into is the property one. For myself and my husband, we saved up, we reduced, so we both had our incomes. We lived on the slightly larger one, and we saved the other person's income, and that's how we afforded our wedding. And soon after that, we went on an overseas trip, which was our last sort of raha before starting a family and getting our money together for a deposit to buy our home. And we bought in Auckland just before it took off. And then we sold while things were still going up. And then we bought our next home here in the Wellington area, and that was just before it went up again. So we've timed it. We were fortunate. We didn't. We got
it just really built up our equity. had really big equity gains.
So what I'm basically hearing you say is A, property, B, investments, like invest in other things other than property as well. And C is like timing. Timing is really crucial. And this is universal. This is across the board. I mean, housing, whether it's in America or New Zealand, is a pretty substantial way to build quick income, essentially. Like, and I shouldn't say quick, it's like a long game plan as well, right? Because you have to wait for the growth sometimes. And the market right now is hot. So it's like, holy crap, right? It's like, yeah, if you're going to sell now or don't. I don't know. I'm not actually, I am not a financial advisor.
If only we all had a crystal ball, so we could figure out exactly what's going to happen.
True story.
You know, and I think that is what's so important about just sitting down with your partner or whoever you're with and just going, right, okay, what's our long-term game plan here? You know, that way you can make better decisions in the current climate and moment rather than making decisions that is based on a bit of hype or a bit of emotion.
Well, and I think what I liked about what you were saying, Jen, is that, you know, for moms who, like for myself, who didn't do that from the get-go, it's like the thing that you brought to the table was you can save. You know, you can save at any point. You don't have to wait. Whereas like, oh, well, I missed my opportunity, so now it's just done. It's like, no, you can save at any point in your life for that future investment. And it doesn't have to be.
The same goes with investing. You can start investing at any point. Don't feel like, oh, I should have invested 10 years ago, or I'm going to invest in 10 years when I have, you know, a bit more income. Start now. You know, it's so important.
And I think that this kicks us into like the next question. Well, it's not really the next question. It was like 8 questions down, right? But I feel inspired to ask now. What when we're teaching our youth, it's like I mean, had I known this as a teen, tween, you know, even as a kid, having this educational concept around really what to do with money, it would have saved me so many years, right? And I think a lot of moms can relate to what I'm saying. So how would you guys, for the audience, like, what's your advice and tips on teaching your young kids and tweens? And I know you guys don't have teens necessarily, but you do have enough education to say, okay, this is what I think is important. And here's the golden nugget now that these moms can pass down to their kids right now.
We recently just did a challenge for kids through our Facebook group, and one of the things that we started off is like, you can make it relevant to the age that your child is at. So each of us give our kids pocket money, and we sat down with them and we said, right, here's however much amount, you split it up into 4 cups, 3 or 4 cups. So they decide how much they're going to spend in 1 cup, how much they're going to save, and how much they're going to invest. And the 4th one is how much to donate
or give
to their choice. So
oh my goodness. So can I just tap on the fact that you just said you're having your kids invest? Like what?
Yeah,
that's the point, right?
So I think overall, it's like what's so important is that you start talking about money, talking about how you're managing and what you're doing with your money, with your kids, like discuss it openly. And then like for us, when we're actually giving them the chance, not just modeling it, giving them the chance to experience, right, how I'm going to use my money and having a plan with it, with any money that comes in, and get them investing. And, you know, it's just so important. You can start investing for your children as soon as they're born.
And they've got that luxury of time.
They do. They really do.
Interest.
It's amazing. And a little bit goes a really long way when you start.
It's so true. It's like, could you imagine if we all had started from like 5? Like how amazing is that, right? And I was gonna say, Lily, you have a son who had an experience in school, and they were talking about money. You know, you've talked about this in, I think it was one of your lives. Can you kind of elaborate on that story real quick, like what happened? It was a pretty neat thing.
It was pretty funny. Aston, we went to Aston's interview with his teacher, and he said, you know, I was teaching we were teaching on the topic of investing, which we don't normally do, and I thought this was quite a good topic for the kids. And he said, but I sort of looked at Aston and it seemed as though he was a little bit bored and not really, and I thought maybe he's not listening, paying attention. So the teacher asked him, oh, Aston, are you following this,
Yeah.
And he said, oh yes, yeah, I'm, I've got my money invested. And the teacher went, excuse me? He's like, oh yes, I've got my money invested. And he said, in what? And he's like, oh, top New Zealand, top 50 in New Zealand, and top 500 companies over in the US, and
index funds, right?
Yeah. And he was just like, oh, maybe. And he said, I just thought it was so funny because he thought, my goodness, maybe I should be letting you teach the class, and also can I please get some tips from you? And he was just cracking up, and I thought, oh, that's hilarious.
But that's the true testament of not only the modeling you were talking about, but also the empowerment of the next generation to have these words. Because I have a confession. I didn't know what an index fund was until I was years old, 37.
Years old. Okay, because listen, a lot of us feel that way, and I didn't know what an index fund was until well into getting into my 30s, and I it's same. I wish I knew earlier.
Lily brought it up, and I was like, index funds. I was like, what are
you talking about?
Yeah, getting jargon into our kids' language is so cool,
So, one of the things with trauma survivors, right, because that's the audience we're also connecting with, is typically their foundation has been completely rocked in some form or another. And one of the things that you guys bring to the table as far as creating a solid foundation is finances, because it's like a root. The more that we have stability in our money and in our cash flow and so forth, the more that we can handle basically stressors in our life. It's just that one more thing that gets taken away from, or one more thing that can support a woman in her healing journey, right? That's why I felt it was really important to bring you guys into this. So what inspired you? I'm going to go with Lily. What inspired you to take your knowledge and wisdom to the next level and share it with other moms? Because you really could have just been like, I'm going to teach my kids, I'm going to do my thing, and we're going to be cool. But you and it takes a lot of work to like consistently show up on social media, create the infographics, all the behind scenes that nobody really talks about. Like, what really fuels your engine to being like, I'm doing this because why?
You know what? I think it just comes back to the fact that if I had this knowledge and education earlier, what I could have done with it. And I just, once you start learning how to manage your finances, and once you start seeing your money make money, you really get this drive and this like, everyone in the whole world needs to know how to do it. Whether they then choose and make their own decision whether they're going to do it is up to them. But just the fact that so many of us are just blind to this knowledge because we've never been exposed to it. And I think that's where Jen and I were like, that's it. Everyone's got to know about this.
We've got to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's so empowering. It's taking charge over a large part of our life, actually. And, only less than 30% of those who invest are women. We live longer than our male counterparts, and generally we earn less than our male counterparts.
It's true. Yeah.
My father passed away when he was in his early 50s. Mum has been single for the last 20 odd years, and she's in her mid-60s. She's probably got, at least 40 years ahead of her. And to think she's had to stand on her own 2 feet and it's been really tough and challenging for her. And if only she had known some of these things, and she couldn't pass on what she didn't know to my sister and I.
Thank you. That's so true. She only had the tools that she had at the point and really couldn't. Yeah, you can't pass on what you don't even know.
And lucky for her, she is one of the best savers. She is so frugal. She's that's what's kept her afloat, you know?
Wow.
So, and that's the other thing, like improving just generational literacy around finances is so important. So
yeah,
a big driver is that everyone just needs to know about basically managing your money, streamlining everything, getting all this really nice order so you can then funnel it into investing as well as enjoying it, you know, not just investing, enjoying it, having a balance, but making sure that you actually have investing as part of your plan and your long-term plan with your money, and then passing that on to the next generation about what we're doing. So that's our big drivers for our why.
I love it. I love it. And Jen, you kind of touched on it, you know, but I'm going to ask you to elaborate. It's like, what is your definition of an empowered woman? You said, you know, taking charge of your life, but in your point of view, like what really qualifies as an empowered woman with finances?
You know, I was just thinking about having the feeling of not being controlled by your money, but your money. I don't like the word control, but it's just having that feeling of I understand where things are at. I am in charge, and I'm making wise choices for my future. Like we've often got this mind, or in society we hear this sort of, oh, I'm going for retail therapy, and then dealing with the consequences the month later when the credit card bill, you know, arrives. It's like, actually, let's shift the mindset in our to celebrating and lifting up people who live within their financial income and invest and save. Let's celebrate that. That's that feeling of empowerment that I want to
I can
spread. You know,
you know what I love about that is a lot of times, again, going back to survivors, they tend to be stuck in like a victim mindset. And what you're doing is creating like an empowered woman who's free from being stuck in just circumstances of life. It's like taking charge, absolutely, being in control, because one of the first things that most women who are survivors feels is out of control. And so it's such a great way to support women in gaining that. It feels, it's more than control. Like you said, it's like knowledge, wisdom, power. Knowledge is power every single time. So anyway, I've actually in the past, I've had the opportunity of attending one of your classes. And I can personally say for myself, the benefit that I've had is it's created an awareness around like the dialogue that I have with my kids. And it's created, I think even you have another class coming up, which I'll will reference in a second, but I'm really excited for, because my 18-year-old, he just turned 18 Monday, and he has an opportunity to start adulthood with one of your classes where it's basic literacy, you know, it's just not taught. And I'm just so thankful that you ladies are doing the work that you're doing and putting in that effort. So thank you. Okay. So I have another few questions and we'll wrap up. Okay. So what 3 empowering money mindset tips, Lily, do you have to empower women for the holiday season ahead?
Yeah, I think trying to make sure that your mindset around money is quite grounded comes from, first of all, some knowledge about where your founding beliefs are coming from. So if you just go right back for a moment, just rather than in the moment of the holiday season, if you just pull right back and think, okay, what were my caregivers that were looking after me, or people that were really important around me, what were they saying about money that actually stuck in my mind from a little child? And get some clarity, write it down, you know, so that you can look back and think, okay, oh, how has that actually affected how I use money today? Really get an understanding of where those grounding thoughts come from for you, and then change the script. You're not stuck in that. You might have been what you were around. It might have been all you were exposed to, but you can take charge at any time and start going, okay, you know what? I'm going to just have a belief that money will be there for me when I need it. And that's a big one. Also understand that you can really maneuver your money any way you like for what you're really wanting. So writing down and thinking, what am I going to value over, say, the holiday period? what's really going to be valuable to me. It might be spending time with family, and that may involve some cost where you have to travel or you have to put on dinners or you have to, you know, host. But you know what, if it's something that's valuable to you, then it's worth putting dollar value to it, you know. So I think it's getting really clear about your intention over where you want to find true value. Right. And so there's not, for me, true value doesn't come in buying plasticky rubbish toys for my children or for family children, you know, but there's a big cost to that. There's a big dollar cost to it, and it doesn't really provide me with feeling like I got good value out of it. So for me, it would be making sure that we do go and see family members, nieces, nephews, time with our family, and maybe getting a gift for them that is really special or sentimental to them. For me, is so I think, write down where your founding beliefs are. Make sure you're clear on your intention for spending over the holidays. And have the knowledge that you can maneuver your money where you want it to go and command it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, there's so many, like, there's so much value in pretty much everything we're saying, because in my coaching, I literally focus on, because everything that we do is based off of what you truly value, and it even goes and is applicable to money. You know, it's even more important. It's like, is that really going to give you the value that you're hoping to experience? And if your answer is yes, but then it's still kind of one of those things where you're like, are you really just saying yes so you can justify getting the thing? Or is it really going to like bring that value? For me, it's like, I'd rather put money towards like a family adventure than the things as well. Sometimes I'm like, we don't need more stuff, you know? But yes, so thank you. All right. So Jen, what's your number one? We already did that. How can a mom create cash flow to invest? Like, what can she specifically do to, because one of the things that you ladies mentioned supporting is creating that cash flow so that way it can be like the funnel into investing. And I before you jump into the question, I do want to share, because of your training, I started pulling like $50 just a week and putting it into in New Zealand, it's called Sharesies. It's my app. Yeah. And so it's really cool. Yes. And I think Lil messaged me like a week or so ago and was like, hey, do you still have your test investment? And it was like, I don't know. I think so. I went and looked and I was like, oh, it grew. I like geeked out so much, you guys. And it's like the quickest dopamine hit ever. I'm just saying.
It really is.
It really is. It's like so good. It's that happy chemical, and it's a healthy dopamine hit, because we all know when you get on social media and you're in the scroll hole, that's a dopamine hit, but it's not necessarily to your benefit. It's creating an addiction. If you're going to create addictions, ladies, create one with some investment. It is so fun, right? Like,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Go for it, Jen.
One thing or two things is recently we did a challenge around reducing our grocery spend. And oh no, I'm not. I know Lily's. Okay, I'm going to do this. Yep, we'll see how I go though. It was $140 for a family of 5 for a week. And I was like, yeah, okay. I did go over slightly, but only slightly, which was phenomenal. There was $50 there that week, you know, that I made a difference on. Yeah. So when you think you can't, generally you can. You're going to blow yourself, or you're going to surprise yourself. And that's one thing.
I will say I joined that challenge as well. And what I got from it was I ate out less, because I was like, oh, I'm going to go, you know, we were just in the States. It's super easy to just like go get takeout, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg like in New Zealand. Right. And so I was like all the time. And then because of the challenge, I was like, I went to literally turn in and I go, oh no, that'll push me over. And I like drove home instead and had a healthy homemade meal where we already had food. So it created consciousness where most people are honestly unconsciously living. So I think even for yourself, it created that consciousness to be like, oh, and that $50 is a Sharesies, or in the States, I forget the app, but yeah. Anyway.
And I think also for creating cash flow, one of the things we do when we do a financial snapshot is just to outline those fixed expenses that you have to pay, and where can you find some savings in them. And I think you forget all the time, but I know I do. Every time I look through it, I think, well, I've just reviewed that, 6 to 8 months ago. But then you go through and start ringing around and you can get a better deal. And it's so important. So we're talking about utilities and okay, it might not be groundbreaking, but by the time you actually start adding it all up, you start finding sometimes $50 a week to $100 a cycle, and then that can go straight away to investing, which is so important.
It's so true.
I think the other thing too is looking at a side hustle, or and when you think, okay, side hustle, but that can be anything. You can go to secondhand shops and find something that oh, this is actually valuable, will resell well, all sorts of things. So just bring in and just set a little target for yourself. It might be $20 a week that you're going to turn a little bit of money on a side hustle.
And there was recently some stat about, we generally have on average $1,000 sitting in our garage that we could sell off. So
as well,
start looking around your house. That's not necessarily a long-term strat, but it's like that, clearing and
that also helps decluttering, right? It's like, I think you guys hit on something else. Most people look at the entire elephant. There's the analogy of the elephant, right? And it's like, how am I going to eat the elephant? I don't know why people are eating elephants, mind you, but like, I don't get who made this analogy up, but it's there. So anyway, you're looking at the whole elephant and it's like, how am I going to eat it? And you're like, actually, I can't. So I just don't do anything, right? You just get so overwhelmed. And instead, what you're saying is it's a bite at a time, you guys. It's a step at a time. It's a little bit at a time. And a little bit goes a long way. It's better than zero.
It is. That's right. And I think getting started small and just being dedicated to actually growing your finances is where you begin, because you can set tiny little goals, 1% change, 1% automated to savings. Maybe you go with a kickstart on building your emergency fund by decluttering and getting that.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got something to fall back on and you can stay out of debt. And then, just start driving, right? Where am I going to bring in a little bit more income, or where am I going to find a little bit extra around those fixed expenses? And then drive that towards investing. So you've immediately changed your whole outlook, even if it's only by a little tiny bit.
Yeah. And it really goes, this concept really goes in so many aspects of life, even the healing journey of, every little bit of progress that you're making matters. And even though it feels like you're making 10 steps forward or 1 step forward and 10 steps back, it's like it doesn't discount each. Like, it's like you're building trust with yourself. Yeah. And really, you guys, this is the most loving way that you can show up for you. Because as Jen mentioned, it's like, I'm getting chills from this, because it's like the way she showed up in love for herself was making sure that there was this savings, this nest egg for who, nobody plans on our spouse passing away earlier. Like, we all plan on dying together. That's my plan. Right?
Yeah.
Excuse you, anybody else who has other plans, like, but also life isn't always going to work according to that way. Like, we don't have control over that, but we do have control over like little things like saving, selling things that you really don't need, and then empowering yourself in that way. So I'm just so thankful for you ladies, your work, this interview. Thank you for being a part of it. And I'm wondering, what ways can women get in touch with you, and what's your next challenge? Because your challenges are always so fun and supportive. And what's your next class that you have that someone can sign up? I know there's the basic one that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so we're doing a investing for beginners little mini course.
Cool.
And it's just really, if you're like, I have no idea about any of this stuff, jump on board. It's it'll definitely be helpful just to get that basic education around investing.
Yeah.
Our next challenge.
Our next challenge, but maybe a declutter.
Yeah, we're thinking a declutter.
You know,
do it. There's holidays coming. People need their stuff cleared out.
That's what we were thinking. Yeah, coming up to the holidays. So
you can find us, people can find us on Instagram, Coffee and Tea Finances. We've got a free spreadsheet up there so people can get started on tracking their expenses. Also the awesome Master Your Mindset presentation that Lily did is up there for free as well. And join our pop-up Facebook group, Coffee and Tea Finances Facebook group. We have an awesome little community there where we think about these topics more in depth. And we'd love to have people join us there.
I love it. Yeah, I would say with the group, what I've loved most is like, you know, you guys are located in New Zealand, but money is universal, right? Like that's why it's so applicable, is because it doesn't matter if you're in New Zealand or America. And the cool thing about the group is like, yeah, you guys share about Sharesies, which is an app for New Zealand investments, but because we have a wide variety of culture in there, you know, another option for Americans is Stash. Download the Stash app, start small there, but you guys offer a wider variety than, you know, just like, hey, this is the box and here's what we're going to work within. So I love that you offer that. And I just want to make sure I covered everything. Your master your mindset. How can they schedule a call with you? So that, because I think you mentioned earlier doing like a financial review or something.
That's right. Yeah. So you can find everything most easily on Instagram at Coffee and Tea Finances, and if you click on the link in our bio, you'll be able to find something that we just spoke about, and you can book in a call with us. It's free. It's just a quick call where we can direct you to those free resources that we have. If you feel like you need a little bit more help, then our next step is to do a financial snapshot for you, which is just filling out that budget and highlighting where you can find that cash flow, and jump on board so we can get you on the right path.
Yeah, and your financial snapshot, that some people might be intimidated by that, right? Because it's like, I don't want nobody looking at what's going on. So Jen, what can you kind of you kind of had that, from what I know from the inside scoop, is like, how did you overcome that kind of like a little bit of anxiety is really what it is. It's like, I don't want nobody
looking. Sharing your financial position.
It's vulnerable.
It is vulnerable.
But we take everything that we see in the most highest degree of confidentiality, and we're all about empowering people, empowering how people see themselves around also finance. Like I shifted from going, I'm just, you know, there was a phase where I was like, oh no, I'm drowning in debt. All I see is debt. But actually, I forgot to see my net worth, and it shifted my mindset. Like I needed to be reminded, you know, and so thank you so much once I saw my financial snapshot. So I
love
hope
it.
Also bring that to people.
To others.
I know that anybody who signs up for a financial snapshot or pretty much anything, even if you ladies who are watching just join the group and follow them on Instagram, you're going to gain so much knowledge, wisdom, support. But I would definitely invite you to take that extra step, because the reality is, like, yeah, sure, we can do things on our own, but why do them on our own if there's added support that's actually going to shift us and up level us, right? I'm a firm believer in having outside support, because I don't think we were meant to do everything alone. Like, right? So thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Wonderful to chat with you.
Yeah, you're doing an amazing job yourself. Helping
thank you
out there. Yeah, it's very inspiring.
Thank you. All right, bye everyone. Hope this finds you happy, healthy, wealthy, and well.